Welcome to the Rebound Your Brain podcast. My name is Dr. Brody Miller, and we are doing episode 1. And I'm so excited to have a wonderful guest on, Ryan Nurse. And Ryan Nurse is a TBI survivor and thriver who has suffered from overcoming depression after a relationship breakup. He took his life from depression to progression, from his deathbed to sunbed, and from calamity to crystal clear clarity, and now uses his past wounds as wisdom to inspire, empower, and guide confused adults towards a future of fulfillment by helping them discover, design, and live their dream life. He is a keynote speaker, coach, and author of Sort Your Shit Out, SHIT. And after being brutally attacked and finding himself knocking on death's door at 18 years old, he is now traveling the world and living his best life whilst teaching others to do the same. Ryan, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for coming on.
And thank you so much for the intro, and thank you for having me. I really look forward to this episode, sharing my journey and some of the priceless life lessons with your audience too.
100%, dude. And both of us are TBI survivors, and actually both of us have the commonality that we both got assaulted at nightclubs. We're going to kind of dive into that a little bit later, but I just want to ask you, from somebody who is a TBI and coma survivor and motivational speaker, like your journey from A to Z is incredibly inspiring. So, like, can you share a few moments that you learned in your recovery, that you had some aha moments and stuff?
Okay, I mean, look, to be fair, my friend, like the recovery, there was never really many aha moments, because
Yeah.
obviously when I went into the hospital, this was no choice of my own. Like they had to take me to hospital because I wasn't, say, responsive.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they'd done the operation, etc., done what they needed to do. But the very first time that I actually remember waking up, not once did I have the thought in my mind like I potentially might not survive or something might happen to me. I never had that doubt in my mind.
Wow.
And regarding, say, the recovery stage, which took many, many years, in all honesty, there was never really any moments where I was like, this is it. I just knew in my head from the day that I woke up, like, I'm gonna make the very most out of my life and nothing is gonna hold me back.
Mm, that's amazing, man. I mean, you you would think, having been in a coma and like unconscious and waking up, you would have woken up in a lot of pain. Did you have a lot of pain when you woke up, or?
I didn't have one part of me that was painful. Yeah, of course I had headaches now and again.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was there in that sort of like, I think they called it like end of life ward. When I was sat there with like the other people that were, sadly, they were dying around me, and I was actually felt good.
Mm.
I felt a bit like an imposter when I was there, and I remember the doctors and nurses would come round to me every day, like, "Oh, take these drugs and take this for your head." And I'm like, obviously I couldn't speak because I had the tracheostomy, but I
Yeah.
just kept saying like, no, I don't need it. Like, I think maybe once or twice I took a paracetamol, but other than that, I took nothing, literally nothing.
That's wild, man. Did they fill you up with any kind of drugs that you were aware of while you were there?
No, they put me into the coma, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but other than that, no, I believe not. No.
What about with your family? What was going on there?
Regarding the whole situation,
Yeah,
or about
yeah.
me,
The
mainly
whole
me.
sit.
So yeah, regarding the whole situation, so let's talk about it like this then. So for instance, when I actually went in the very first day, when obviously the morning that my parents failed to wake me up after being attacked that night, they took me into the first hospital, and it was just my mum. My dad stayed at home with my siblings,
Mm-hmm.
And my mum was obviously desperately asking them for answers, and they were just saying, "We don't know. We really don't know what's wrong with him at the moment because there was no
Yeah.
blood, no bruising, no signs of trauma at all. It was obviously all internal." And I remember my mum. She told me that she heard my voice from down the corridor in the first hospital when she first arrived. And she followed that voice, and then she walked in there. She was so glad, so happy to hear me. But then she realised that it wasn't me, and it was somebody else. And
Ah.
she was desperately asking them for questions. What's happening to my son? And finally, they come out and they said, we're going to have to take him via air ambulance for an emergency brain operation at a specialist hospital. And my mum just couldn't believe this. Her son, she just seen him like a few hours before.
Right.
So now needs to have an emergency operation. So they did take me. They took me in the ambulance in the end to the second hospital where I did go in for an emergency brain operation where I suffered from a fractured skull and a blood clot due to a bleed on the brain. I
Mm-hmm.
was put into an induced coma, and when my parents finally got to see me that evening, the specialist said, "Look, it's not looking great for Ryan, and we would really suggest that you go back and tell your family, tell all of his friends, loved ones, that he's not going to pull through the night."
Right.
Thankfully for me, that I did pull through, and again, I was just being kept alive by this life support machine. And then on the third day was the day that the doctors actually called my parents and invited them to the hospital, and they invited them into this sort of separate room in the intensive care unit. And I remember my parents told me as soon as they sat down, the specialist that done the operation on me said, due to the severity of Ryan's injuries and because he's got zero brain activity, we would highly suggest that you consider pulling the plug on his life support machine. And yeah, like obviously imagine that for any parent. You could only just imagine what my parents were sort of thinking and feeling in that moment.
Right.
But thankfully for me, my dad literally saved my life. My dad stood up in that moment and he said, like, no way is this machine getting turned off. Like, I know Ryan more than any of you know Ryan.
Yeah.
And Ryan takes his own time to do anything. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to give him that time. And by my dad saying that, they gave me a few more days. And I remember the day that they reduced the sedation to bring me round, all of my friends, all of my loved ones were there expecting that I just open my eyes and sort of start speaking to them. I think that's what they thought was going to happen. But the first day they reduced the sedation to bring me out of the coma, again, nothing. My lungs weren't functioning, and I had to be put straight back into the coma.
Yeah.
And yet again, the doctors and specialists said to my parents, like, it's not looking good for Ryan. Like, this machine is keeping him alive, and he's not going to wake up from this ever. Like, it's highly unlikely that
Yeah.
he would ever come around. And they said, if miraculously he did come around, he would never walk or talk again and be in a vegetative state for the rest of his life. However, the second day that they reduced the sedation, thankfully for me, I did start to breathe by myself. And it wasn't like I sat up and I woke up and I spoke to everyone. It was just my lungs were functioning. So, again, for my loved ones, that was a great, great time for them because they knew that something was happening and that potentially I could come around.
Wow, man, that's so incredibly inspiring and inspirational that I can't even hardly believe it because I'm speaking to you right now, and here you are, all cylinders firing together. You know, you couldn't ever tell that anything ever happened to you. One more question about that night is
Please do.
what the fuck happened? Who was the assailant? Did they ever figure that stuff out?
Yeah, no, of course. A great question, by the way. So what happened is there was this club and it was so close to where we all lived, like me and my friends. We would go there. It was like a 5 minute drive max. We would go there sometimes 3 times a week. This is how
Yeah.
local this club is. Like we'd go there sometimes a Friday night, a Saturday night, and sometimes they done I think a Wednesday or a Thursday student night. So sometimes we'd do like a three nights in this club in one week, and we knew everyone there. Everyone knew me. Everyone, all of our friend group, we all knew each other. Like it was like a community almost, and we just go there, have fun, dance, drink, as you
Mm-hmm.
do as 18-year-olds or young
Yeah.
adults, right?
Right.
So we go there this one night, and it was a night where it was like a reunion for our parents, like for the people that was our parents' age from the school, because in these small villages where we live, everyone knows each other. So
Yeah.
we all went to the same school. Our parents went to the same schools, etc., etc. Like even our teachers, some of the teachers are still teaching now that taught our parents. Like it's crazy. So this one night, our parents were going there, and like my dad was like, "No way will I go to that." But my mum was like, "I'm going to meet some friends." So me and a few of my friends, our mums were going to this club which we go to. So we was like, "Oh, it'd be fun to go." But this one night, I really didn't want to go because I was so tired and I worked the whole day. My friend calls me like, "Let's go and see our mums, and it'd just be so funny." And I was like, "Nah, bro. Like, I'm so tired. I'm just gonna spend the night at home." And he's like, "Come on, please. Let's just go for one drink." I go for the one drink. We end up going to the club, and we're there. And look, we're having a good time. Like the drinks were flowing, the music was pumping, and we were
Yeah.
literally dancing the night away. We're having a great time. Our parents are there, so it's funny, and like we're seeing all of our mums and some of our friends' dads and stuff, and it was just
Yeah.
funny, right?
Yeah.
And we noticed there was these group of lads there. Like I say older guys. They weren't like old men. They were older compared to us. We were 18.
Yeah.
They were like 25, 26, 27. They were older. They were like
Yeah.
bigger than us.
Yeah.
And we didn't know these guys. They weren't from around this area. And they were out to cause trouble. Like, you can just tell when people are out to cause trouble. These guys wanted to
100%.
argue. So we were just like watching things happen through the night, enjoying ourselves. And before you know it, my older friends, or like our older friends that are also similar age to these guys, which are like 25, 26, 27, 28, up to 30 potentially. We noticed that these group of guys that we didn't know are now arguing with our older friends. And they're having a bit of pushing and shoving and arguing. And before you know it, it gets broken up. Everything's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
So we carry on doing our stuff. And obviously we saw this unfold because we like stood there with these older friends of ours. But nothing
Yeah.
happened. And then we dance in, and our parents go home. I remember my mum saying, "Come on, come home with me. Come home. We're going home now. Come home." I'm like, because the night was over. I was just
Mm-hmm.
adamant. I just wanted to stay right to the end. So I was saying, "No, mum, I'm gonna
Yeah.
stay to the end. Like my friends are here. We're just gonna
Yeah.
stay." And it wasn't even that much. It was probably not even half an hour longer. I was like, "I'm gonna stay, mum." So she's like, "All right, make sure you get home. Okay, blah blah blah." So she goes home. We leave the club a little bit of time later. Me and my younger friends, obviously, and we leave the club. And we enter a taxi. So we get into a taxi to obviously make it back to the safety of our parents' homes.
Mm-hmm.
And we enter the taxi and we start to turn around in the car park and we start to leave leave the car park.
Yeah.
And as we're leaving, we notice these older lads, these young guys basically were coming out of the club, and they sort of followed us out. And they come straight over to our taxi and they literally removed us from the taxi. And they just started saying, like, "We've ordered this taxi, we booked this taxi, but the driver surely wouldn't pick us up and start to drive off if it wasn't for us."
Yeah.
And then these guys literally pull us out of the taxi. So now we're in the car park and we're arguing with each other. And then suddenly the taxi driver of our car turns on us and he's like, "No, they booked it." Hold on, why did you take us then? So we couldn't understand this. So there's a bit of disagreement in the car park. And yeah, again, we're sort of like, it's like a bit of a heated argument, you could say, but nothing happening. We're just arguing with each other about
Yeah.
whose
Yeah.
taxi it is. It doesn't even matter, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
we're sort of having this discussion or debate about whose taxi it is. And in the end, we just said, "Look, it'd be wise that we just get a separate taxi. There's so many taxis here. We're getting another taxi. We'll go." So we got into the next taxi. We leave the car park. We turn left and we turn left again onto this dark, unlit road. And we're driving down the road, and we know the whole way back. It's so simple. A couple of roads, and we're home. So we're driving down this one road that is no lights, and we're driving, and instantly we just noticed that same vehicle with those same angry guys in has followed us, and they got their full beams on us because it filled the interior of our taxi. And they're tooting, they got the horn, they're beeping, and you could just tell they wanted us to stop. And before you know it, this loud, angry voice comes through to our driver's walkie-talkie, demanding that we pull the car over. So our driver just starts to slow down, and we're confused. We're panicking. We're nervous, and we're saying to the driver, like, "What's happening? Why are you stopping? What is the reason for why you're stopping?"
Yeah.
He didn't say a thing. He didn't even turn around. He just slowed down and he pulled the car up and he parked onto the pavement and he turned the car off. And that same car with those same men pulls up behind us. They switch their lights off, and then there was just this eerie sound of silence. Me and my friends are just scared now. We're nervous. We're looking at each other saying, "What do we do? Like, what's going to happen?" We don't know what to do. And then out of nowhere, there was a bam, 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 a loud thump on the passenger front window, which my friend opens the window and he says, like, "What's the problem? Like, what's happening?" But as he did, someone began to punch him through the window. So me and
Mm.
my friends are obviously panicking, nervous, scared. We thought we would get out of the car to stop this madness from happening. So my friends get out of the driver's side rear. I go to open my door to get out of my side. And as I did, my door was literally ripped open and I was greeted with the same fist. and I hadn't even had chance to take my seatbelt off. So I was sat
Mm.
there with the belt on still, and it was stuck on me. And I was literally sat there like a sitting duck. I couldn't get my belt off, and this guy is just pounding me in the left side of the temple, and I couldn't do anything about it. Like the belt was doing what the belt should do, which was
Right.
to lock, and the belt had
Right.
locked. So I'm stuck to the back of the seat, like glued to the back of the seat, while this guy is just pounding me in the head like 10, 20, 30. It was just never ending, just kept punching me, and it wasn't stopping. And I was so scared. It was obviously painful, but I was so focused on trying to undo the belt and the buckle. And I was trying, and it wasn't doing anything. Like it was locked. And at one point, my friend, I honestly said to myself in my own mind, like, Ryan, this is how you're going to die. Like this is how you are going to die. I thought that's me. I'm dead here because I couldn't get this belt undone, and this guy was just not stopping. But thankfully for me, bam, I popped the buckle, and thankfully I got the buckle undone. And as the buckle released, like the beating stopped, I managed to get out of the driver's rear door and I just run down to a separate road. And as I look back, it was like a movie. It was scary. It was crazy. Like my friends were being battered. They were all getting beaten. It was like me, two younger friends, and a girlfriend of ours as well. And these guys were just beating the shit out of all of them. And it was just crazy. So I didn't even think about calling the police or an ambulance. I just thought I need to call a friend because I know a friend lived local, and him and his girlfriend they had a car, and I was like, they're gonna pick us up and take us back to our parents' house. So I just thought I'm gonna call them quick. So I just called my friend like, come now, like both of you come here now and pick us up. So I hid in this bush, and I got my body in this bush, and I was just stood there. My head was just spinning around like this gyroscopic feeling, and the pain was unreal. And I thought I need to get home, like I need to get home now. And a few minutes later, my friends, they obviously arrived in their car, and they were just like, get in the car. And I remember I got in the car, and again, they were saying, like, what happened? I told them the story. We drive out of the road, and obviously it all stopped. Like, it wasn't happening anymore. And I was like, yeah, it was here. And I was like, just take me home. Like, I need to go home. And as we're driving back, my heavy head was just spinning. And I remember it just kept falling down. Like, I couldn't keep my head up. And at one point, I rested it on the window ledge, and I was trying to keep my head up, and it just kept falling down. And my friends, they were looking back at me saying, we need to take you to the hospital, Ryan. Like, you need to see a doctor now. And I remember I was saying, like, no, I need my bed. I want to go to bed. I need my bed. And they were saying, no, we need to take you to hospital. And look, in the end, I just convinced my friends to take me back to my parents' house. And I remember we pulled up outside my house, and my friends were like, please just make sure you're okay. Like, I want to make sure you're okay. In the morning, make sure you ring us, like, please. And I'm like, look, tomorrow is a new day. Like, I'm going to ring you in the morning. Everything's going to be okay. Like, I had a couple of drinks. I've been beaten up. I'm going to be fine in the morning. It's fine. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
like, make sure you ring me. I'm like, 100%, I will ring you. The very last thing, excuse me, I remember was walking up the driveway, putting my hand on the handle of my parents' front door. I walked through, and then after this, I just blacked out.
Mm. Wow, thank you for sharing that with me. I know it's not easy to do, but like you're incredibly brave, obviously, that you're able to do that. Last question is what did they ever find the assailant?
Yeah, so look, again, being at 18, just turning 19 at the time once I actually come out of hospital, it went on for a couple of years, like the whole court case.
Right,
And for someone that's never been to prison or a court or, all these things, like for me, it was like a huge, huge thing. And
right,
it was overwhelming as well, because bearing in mind, I had all this trauma that I hadn't even dealt with or overcome.
right,
And then I had to deal with going to court to try and prove my innocence and prove that these guys beat me up, and I didn't just fall over, basically. So
right.
I remember going to court for the first time was scary. I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. And the very first time I went to court, it was just me, like just answering questions from their barristers, etc. And again, they were just trying to tell me like I made this story up. They were trying to tell me that I fell over on the way home because I was super, super drunk. They
Right.
were trying to tell me all these made up stories and about how like it's not possible for someone to beat someone that hard to have these type of brain injuries, and it's not impossible. Like they were saying, like the punch of like one of a world famous boxer couldn't do this damage. And
Right.
look, you can fall. This bottle could fall from a shelf and hit you on the head and give you brain damage. Like this is how crazy life is. And they were literally telling me that I was making this up. So just imagine, like a young boy, I still was, that hadn't dealt with the trauma and overcome the trauma, and was still petrified for my life in that moment. And someone's telling
Right.
me that I'm a liar. Like for me, it was one of the worst things, and I couldn't even look at the jury. I couldn't even look at the people that done it to me. I had to have a black screen put up because I was so scared for my life still. It was one of the worst things that I'd ever been through because I was petrified in that moment. I couldn't even get my words out because it was just hard. Like I would either cry or I'd just be so nervous and so anxious. And I had no one in the court to tell me like, don't, it's going to be okay. Like to get my mindset right before I went into these things. So it was like
Right.
me going in blind basically to try and prove that I'm innocent or that I didn't make this all up and that someone actually attacked me to do this to me. My friend, this was one of the worst things. So look, it went to court multiple times, and I think in the end, it kept getting adjourned. Like the jury couldn't agree on one part of the story because obviously my friends got attacked as well, and I
Right.
think because they were super super drunk, and I don't really drink a lot. Even now today, I don't drink anything hardly. But even
Yeah.
back then, yeah, of course I drunk, but I would never get to the state where I didn't remember any of my night. I'd always drink
Yeah.
to have fun,
Right.
but then there's that tipping point, right, where you don't have fun, you just don't remember anything, you become
Mhm.
a mess, basically. I never get to that stage. So I
Right.
remembered every single thing. And yeah, because of my friends, their stories didn't align up. For instance, like the seating pattern in the car.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said, I
Yeah.
know for a fact where I was sat, but they can't remember where they were sat. So none of it aligned or lined up. So the
Right.
jury couldn't agree on a few things. And with that being said, it kept getting adjourned. And I remember one of the times when it went to court, because I went back to work and everything, and I was a mechanic at the time, and
Yeah.
I remember I was fixing a car. I was doing a huge job. I was doing a cam belt, I believe, or a head gasket or something on a car.
Yeah.
And I remember it was a summer's day, and my dad and my mum and dad were at the court, and they said like, "You don't need to come to this one if you don't want to." I was like, "No, I don't. I don't." Like it was horrendous going to
Right.
court. Like so, I was
Yeah.
like, "I don't want to go."
Right.
So I was working this afternoon. And I think it's about 4 p.m. and I finished at 5:30. And my dad come in like rushing. He's like, "Ryan, come now." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You need to come now. The judge has demanded that you come here now." And I'm like, "I'm in my work clothes. I've got like oil all down me. There's a customer wants their car back tonight." I'm like, "I can't." He's like, "No, the judge said you need to come now." Oh my god! So I remember I didn't even get changed. I turned up in like mechanic's outfit, oil down me. I'm there. I'm having like an anxiety attack because I don't want to be there. Wasn't prepared for this at all. And what it was is the very first day that I woke up, actually opened my eyes in the intensive care unit. The police were at the end of my bed, and they got me to do a written statement with pen and paper. And I wrote every single thing down in pinpoint accuracy or detail, every single thing that happened, who was there, who done it, what happened that night, the name of the taxi company, what car it was, the brand, the color, every single thing I wrote down. And because of my left eye, which was the where I got beaten on this side, my left eye was actually pointing upwards. I didn't know at the time, but my left eye was pointing upwards because of the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went back, the reason I had to go because the writing went from big letters on the left hand side of the page, went downwards like this to very small letters because of my eye was obviously bust at the time. When I
Yeah.
wrote it, I thought I was writing straight, but I wasn't. I was writing like this. So it went from big to small letters and it was all like muddled up. And obviously, no one could sort of read this. So I had to go back and I had to read back. And no one told me about this. So I just
Wow.
walked into a room, to a jury, into a court, and they just hand me this piece of paper and say, "Read this." I didn't even know what it was at first. And I looked down at it and I went, "Oh my god!" Like it hit me straight in the heart. And I went, "That's the thing that I wrote when I was sat there in that intensive care unit. I wrote that, and this is the first time I'd even seen it." And all of those memories again. This is, I think, 2 years later in the end, I believe,
Yeah.
or almost 2 years after, and all of those memories again come flooding back, and I'm just there crying, trying to read this thing. The jury are just glaring at me like this, like they can't believe I'm reading it in pinpoint accuracy the whole night how it unfolded, and they couldn't believe it, and people were just like, "Wow," they could not believe it, and yeah, that was for me very emotional, very very crazy day. Yeah.
I would say so, man. And yeah, I get like the goosebumps like hearing like a story like it sounds more like a movie story than
It is,
anything
man.
else,
It
you
is
know.
literally.
But like um let's talk about forgiveness for a little bit because uh having been assaulted as well, knocked out, waking up in the hospital, nothing near as serious, but I did get my ass rocked, like um yeah, and it took me a long time to forgive who did that to me. I'm wondering about you and your journey, what you've what's transpired along with that?
Yes. So I'm going to say some words here about
Okay.
forgiveness and
Yeah.
about my journey as well. So
Yeah.
look, talking about my journey. So when I obviously come out of hospital, I just didn't want to talk about it anymore. I just wanted it all to be over. Bearing in mind, I went through this trauma, so I come straight out of hospital, straight back to say normal life. I was finding myself going around, hanging around with the same people, the same places. I even went to the same club once, and they wouldn't let me in. I went
Hmm.
there on crutches, I believe. I believe I went on there on crutches, and they wouldn't let me in.
Oh
Just because my
my
friends were
God.
like, "Come," and they were saying, "You can't come in. Like you caused so much problems here for what happened. We're not going to let you in." So I remember I got a taxi back by myself. That's another story, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was just doing the same old shit
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
over and
Yeah.
over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the same people talking the same stories around me, and they were just planting stuff into my mind. I just wanted it to stop, but every time I went and saw people, oh my god, I can't believe, tell me everything that happened, and it was just like repeating this same old cycle over and over again in my mind. I didn't want to speak about it. I just wanted
Mm-hmm.
it to be over.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking. People talk so much shit, my friend. People talk
Yeah.
crap.
They do.
I had so many people around me saying, if you want to get these people, we're going to go over there. We're going to get a group of us. We're going to go there. We're going to hurt them. I don't want to do it. I don't care about these people. Like, I want it all to be over. What? Go and hurt someone else. What's it going to cause? It's going to make me feel better. No. Is it going to make them feel better? No. Is it going to make the situation better? No. Because I believe for years after, I believe they were going to still come after me. I had the mindset of these guys are going to find me and they're going to really do me in this time. And I believed that for years. I was
Yeah.
scared
I
still,
bet.
and I had all these people around me saying, "Come on, let's go and beat them up. Let's go and do them. Yeah, we can do that. Come on, I don't want to talk about this." And this stuff was going round and round in my mind for so long after, and I didn't want it. And I held on to that crap for years, and I mean years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And I never told anyone really about what truly happened to me. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, of course, they know the story of what happened, but they didn't know how I felt and the emotions that
Right.
I was feeling because I basically boxed up and buried all of those emotions that went with it. And unexpressed emotions will never die.
No.
They literally are buried alive and they will come forth later in much uglier ways. And that's what I done. I buried those thoughts, those feelings, those emotions, and I just pretended like nothing ever existed. And straight after I went in, like I say, into a relationship, and this relationship is amazing. I never faced those problems, those emotions that I had all inside of me, festering,
Mm-hmm.
never dealt with them. And I held on to them. And that went through to my adult life, like 19 years old, coming out 18, turned 19, through my whole early 20s. I went through all of my life really, with those emotions still buried in me.
Right.
And yeah, I was angry. I was so angry. I was
Yeah.
angry with all the people that hurt me. I was angry about the situation. I was angry with myself. And that was mainly because I couldn't remember things. I kept muddling my words up. I couldn't remember what I was saying. I'd
Right.
fall asleep at the time. I was so angry with myself. And I beat myself up on a daily basis. So like I say, I held on to this for years until many other things happened in my life. And I mean, many other things. Like I say,
Mm-hmm.
depression, progression, relationship breakup, all of this. Story for another day. But
Yeah.
I held on to so much anger. And because I hadn't dealt with the anger from the trauma, from the brain injury,
Right.
when it comes to getting angry, say, to the relationship, man, I got angry. My fuse was a millimeter long, if that. Someone pissed me off, I would just bite. Every time there was that carrot dangling in front of me, I would bite it every single time because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to deal with my thoughts, feelings, emotions. I
Right.
couldn't deal with anything. I couldn't speak to people. It was just argue or nothing. And yeah, I would just argue and get angry at every single thing until I sort of went inwards and I worked on myself. And again, another story. But once I started to do the internal work, was when I could deal with my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, to work on myself, to become the best version of myself. So, what I'm going to tell you now about not only the guy that attacked me, the guys that attacked me, the girl that say the relationship breakup, all of these things that have happened in my life, I forgave all of them because look, sometimes your most profound periods of pain can also turn out to be your greatest gifts of growth. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, it was the day that I forgive them was when all of that pain, that anger went. And let me say this: anger is a very dangerous word. Anger is one letter, a word from the word danger.
Mm.
Anger is the wind that blows out the lamp of the mind. And holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. But forgiveness is the antidote. So forgive
Mm.
others, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. Because if you're still holding on to that past pain, then it may hold you back there forever. So you need to let go and grow. Because holding on to anger, all it's doing is beating you up. Because those people that might have hurt you, might have said something, that might have done something, they literally don't give a shit about you or your life because they've moved on a very long time ago.
Yeah.
But you holding on to that anger, it's only beating you up. It's doing your head in and it's making your life a lot worse. So let go of that anger and forgive, because forgiveness is freedom. Like forgiveness isn't for them, but it's for you. Like it's not like forgive and forget, but it's forgive and move on. Because if you don't forgive, you're going to hold on to that, say, resentment, and you're going to hold it inside you for the rest of your life. And like I mentioned a moment ago, it's going to fester and it's going to manifest into much greater issues and problems in your life.
Mm.
So forgiveness really is freedom.
It really is. And people that are dealing with brain injury, neurological issues, whether you've been attacked, whether you fell off, whether you fell off of a horse, whether uh, you got in a car accident, there's going to be a level of forgiveness and healing that needs to happen for you to move through this. What are some of the things that you already mentioned? Was it forgiveness that was the catalyst of your freedom, or was it also you said you went internal? Was that like meditation, or what did that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So look, like I mentioned, I held on to all of these thoughts, feelings, emotions, the whole situation for years. And really, it was the catalyst was COVID-19 2020 was the time when I went internal. Because look, this is a brief overview. Hospital was 2011. I went in hospital. I
Yeah.
come out at the end of 2011. 2012 was my 19th birthday. A few months after, I met, say, the love of my life. We got into a relationship, very fast paced. I forgot about all of those things that had happened with that attack.
Yeah.
And I was just so focused on the relationship. I was with this girl for 6.5 years in the end. Buy the house, the holidays, the cars, you name it. We had everything that society says you need in order to be happy, in order to be successful, in order to be perfect. We had this
Yep.
perfect life.
Yeah.
Then we had a trip booked to go to Cape Town 2019, 2019.
Yeah.
Yes, March 2019. 2 or 3 days before leaving, we meant to leave. I walked into a restaurant to see the love of my life sat there with another guy. So hence why I say I ended up going into a depression very shortly after coming, or the day that I say returned from Cape Town, a few weeks after. Then I was going through depression for say 6 months, where I literally wanted to take my own life. And one single thought transformed my life. And that thought said to me, the day that I planned to kill myself, I was sat there on the sofa, slumped over, about to do it, about to take my life. And a thought come into my mind and it said, Ryan, could you live with the thought of dying with regrets? Could you live with the thought of dying with regrets? And I thought about that. Could I live with the thought of dying with regrets? And I held on to that thought like a magnet. And I kept asking myself over and over again, because I realized that I'd already overcome death. Like I'd seen what death looks like and I'd
Mm-hmm.
overcome it. So if I can overcome that, surely I can overcome anything. And the thing is, like when I was in hospital, my life was totally in somebody else's control. Like it wasn't down to me whether I wanted to switch my life support off or not. And it was in somebody else's control. But now sat on that sofa about to take my own life was totally in my control. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to take my own life because in that moment, death for me was in fact a desired destination. But I managed to use my greatest fear in my favor, because death was my greatest fear. And that shoulder angel was just kept saying, repeating, say, remember what your biggest fear is. Although the devil was saying, go on, do it, do it. And like bribing me and pushing me to do it, saying, go on, pushing me. That angel just said, remember your biggest fear. So for me, the biggest fear was death. And after that, I just started to get these downloads into my mind and I started to journal. I started to get all my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions out. And I realized in that moment, because I've been saying to myself, I was trapped in this prison. I realized in that moment, the only prison that we are ever trapped in is the one that we have created within our own mind. And there are so
Mm.
many people out there living on that cold, hard concrete, wishing that they could have traded places with me. And I'm upset, pissed off, angry with my life when there's so many people out there wishing that they could have had the life that I had. So
Right.
rather than counting all of my problems, in that moment, I started to count all of my blessings. And after that, yeah, I just started to work on myself from the start of, say, or the end of 2019, going into 2020. And after that, yeah, I just worked on myself on a daily basis. Even I still do it now. So that was really the catalyst. And after that, my life absolutely transformed, because what you focus on in life expands and you get more of what you focused on. So stop counting your problems, start counting your blessings, and be grateful for every single thing that you have, because life is the greatest gift that we will ever receive. And they say, like, each morning we will open two gifts, and that is our eyes. And that's why they call this moment the present.
Oh, wow, man. I'm speechless. I honestly am. I mean, when you stare into the mirror, right? You look into your soul in a way, and it's like I I I just get emotional thinking about all of this, just because it's just there's so much truth in everything that you say. And yes, it's inspirational and all that, but you're speaking like the highest embodiment of truth here. Like, for anybody that's listening, just just think that it really is all up to you. And we let our fears hold us back. We create these mental prisons, and we create the biggest barriers, and the ones that we're not aware of. How do you bring the barriers that we create to our consciousness? What way do you do that other than journaling?
You know, I love this question because the answer for me is the questions that you ask yourself. Because we're all asking ourselves questions. We're all telling ourselves a story within our own mind every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And it always goes back to awareness. Awareness is the first step to anything. Like, you can't change or improve what you don't know needs changing or improving. And my friend John Assaraf says, awareness gives you choices, and choices gives you freedom. Because if you are not aware of anything in your life, then how can you improve or change it? So for me, I'm always asking myself on a constant basis, is what I'm doing now what I truly want to be doing? And look, in life, we sometimes have to do things that we don't want to do. And
Right.
I'm not talking like go for a run because you don't want to go for a run today. Like, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Like, you get to do that, right?
Right.
But I'm talking about, like, say for instance, yeah, you might have to help your parents out. It might take your whole day out, but doing that's going to help them, and it's going to come back to you in some sort of way anyway. But this is a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm talking about, like, are you doing things on a daily basis that do not align with your truest self? And look, I like to make quotes, and I made some quotes that says, "The soul does not lie, nor can it be lied to." So when you're doing things that do not align with your truest self, is when you feel discomfort, pain, stress, anger. Because I made another quote, and it says, "I believe the true meaning of suffering is when your actions contradict your dreams and desires."
Mm. In facing our fears, what the biggest fear for most people is death or public speaking, yada yada yada. But like, what do you think really is the greatest fear for people other than
Well,
those? I mean,
let me start by saying this. Anyone that's listening, if you're putting off doing things in your life because you're afraid that you might die, whether it's, say, doing a skydive, whether it's, I don't know, swimming in a river, whether it's going in the sea, jumping in the deep end, whatever, doing these crazy things, or even just doing small things some people get afraid of. If you're putting off doing certain things in your life because you might die and you're already dead, because there's a quote and it says, so many people die so many people die at 25 but aren't buried until 75. And I believe so many people are just living life on autopilot. And that was once me, just getting up every single day, doing the same old things over and over again because they're not aware of what they truly want and they're scared to go internal. But the internal journey, the journey of oneself, is the greatest journey that you'll ever go on. Of course, it's the most scariest, it's the most daunting, but it's the most rewarding. Because if you don't go within, you'll end up going without. So you must do the journey of self. So people put things off due to fear. Just know this, like, fear is not real. Fear is just a picture that you have created within your own mind, and it is usually worst case scenario. Voluntarily heading towards pain may seem quite daunting. However, taking small and frequent steps to expose yourself to fear and discomfort on a regular basis will help build the courage that you need to withstand the pain that you once thought you could not bear. So you need to do the things that scare you until they don't. Because so many people just think they're going to sort of think their way out of fear, or they're going to think their dream life into existence. Like, yeah, I believe in the, say, law of attraction and all of that. Of course I believe in it. But the law of attraction doesn't work without the law of action. So you need to take those uncomfortable action steps and lean in fully. And when you lean in, this is the biggest period of growth, because when you're actually in the center of discomfort is when you grow the most. So to answer your question, I'm going to say, like, for all we know, we have one life. And you can literally give it all you got, or you can go with all you got. So there's a quote that says, the graveyard is one of the wealthiest places on this earth. Just imagine all of those undiscovered and unused talents, skills, and abilities that cease to exist. All of those would haves, could haves, and should haves that the world never had exposure to. For me, I personally don't want to perish filled with potential. So you need to ask yourself the same question. Like, do you want to get to the end of your life with those words of regret filling your throat, saying that I wish I would have done that, I should have done that? Or do you want to go and experience life? Because regret is something that you're going to take to the tomb. Like, nobody regrets doing the things. It's always the things that they didn't do. It's always the inactions that people regret rather than the actions that they took. So go out there, try things, fail at things, go and push yourself, do things that scare you. Because I guarantee you'll be on your deathbed and you'll say, I gave it all I got. Because so many people go to the grave with their music, with their greatness inside of them still. So what I'm going to say now is live full and die empty.
And from a collective consciousness standpoint in society right now, what the fuck is going on? You know, there's something in the air that you can smell. You can smell there's something, like there's transformation in the air, but you can also smell there's a lot of bullshit there too.
Yeah, like I pay attention to the world, of course I do. But as much as I care about people, my granddad, my best friend, my granddad, I point here because I've got a tattoo on my heart that says granddad.
Yeah.
He told me the best piece of advice in my life: always look after number one. Because if you don't look after yourself, if you're not 100%, you can't then help others to the best of your ability. So as much as I know what's going on in the world, all these horrible, horrendous things, I don't pay attention to it because all it's doing is contaminating my mindset. So I just want to know how I can show up as the best version of me and how it could potentially then inspire, empower, impact positively someone else. And Mahatma Gandhi said it, I believe, be the change that you want to see in the world. So for me, it's just showing up as the best version of myself, working on myself, pushing myself so far out of my comfort zone that people look at me and say, wow, I wish I could do what this guy, or like, this guy's inspired me to take action. So being the inspiration for just one person to say, I'm going to make change, whether it's from my story, whether it's from my actions, I just want to do something where I can have a small positive dent on this earth while I'm here. Because look, we don't know how long we got. Like, we've all been dying since the day we were born. Nobody knows when it's their turn to take the treacherous trip towards the tomb. Like, no one knows when they're dying. So for me, while I'm here in this short period, I'm going to make the most out of this one and only life that I've been gifted. Who knows if there's something after? Who knows where we go next? We don't know. I know while I'm here at the moment, while I got my eyes open, while my heart is beating, that I'm going to make the most out of this opportunity, because not many things in life are 100% guaranteed. But two things are that we are all born and we will all die. It's what we do with the opportunity between these two events that really matter most. So anyone that's listening, of course, like when we're born, we're all given a birth certificate. But just imagine that you were also given a death certificate too, where you saw your exact day of death. How would that then alter your each and every move, your each and every, say, action that you took whilst here on Earth, knowing that this exact time you're not going to be here anymore? Because for any of us, that time could be around the corner. I was 18 years old and I was knocking on death's doors. People were like, yeah, I'm going to live till 80. Like, oh yeah, technology is advancing. Like, drugs are getting better. We're all going to live to 100. This could be the last day for any of us. We don't know. We don't know. It's not guaranteed. So stop living your life believing that tomorrow is guaranteed. Like, never ever put off until tomorrow what can be done today, because tomorrow may never come. So regarding your question about all of this crap that is going on in the world, like, there's horrendous things happening in the world. But I made a quote again, and it says this: the majority aren't moved to make better life choices until it's a matter of their mortality. I believe people are waiting for results, to say things to happen in their life, potential life-threatening things, before they say, yeah, I'm going to make a change. Like, you don't have to wait for someone you know to become seriously ill or die, or for you to something to happen to make the decision. Like, you don't have to wait for that day to actually say, right, I'm going to make the choice to start going after what it is that I truly want in my life. Like, you can start today to start to discover, design, and create the life of your dreams right now. In this one moment, you can make a decision to say, yes, I'm going all in on discovering who I am truly and what it is that I really want to achieve while I'm here on this earth. Like, you can make a choice today, because it's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. So just say yes to yourself, say yes to your dreams, because look, people are looking out there for motivation. They're listening to Tony Robbins, they're watching YouTube, listening to podcasts. Motivation doesn't do anything. You need to take action, because action destroys procrastination. Action creates more action, just as inaction creates more inaction. So look, if you want motivation, here it is. You, my friend, are going to die. You're going to die. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be next year, it could be in 10 years, it could be in 100 years. I don't know. But one day, you, my friend, are not going to open your eyes. So if you're living your life believing that every day is guaranteed, you've got a shot coming to you, because one day it isn't going to be here. And when you're on that when you're on death's doors, like when you're on that deathbed, you're going to be looking up at your loved ones, and you're not going to remember, say, that money in your bank. You're not going to remember those cars that you drove, that watch that you had on, the clothes that you wore. You're going to remember the memories you made, the people who you made them with, the lives you impacted, the words you said, and you're going to remember how you showed up and the things that you done, and those scary things that you done, the things when you felt truly alive, when you thought, oh my God, I didn't know what I was doing, but I'd done it anyway. They told me not to do it, but I went there anyway. I said it. I was so scared to say it, but I said it. You're going to remember those times, because they're going to be the things that you say, I'm so glad that I done that. You're not going to be like, oh, I'm so glad that I kept all those words inside. I'm so glad that I didn't tell that person how much they really meant to me. No, that's going to fester, and you're going to take that to the grave with you. Whether you remember it or not, I don't know. I remember, or you will remember, sorry, that when you're on your deathbed, those are going to be thoughts going around in your mind. You're going to have a story saying, did I give life everything that I could have done? Or have I still got my music trapped inside of me? And was there more that I could give?
When it comes to you and helping people achieve and get that clarity in their lives, what, out of curiosity, what's the first thing that you do with someone?
So for me, for being, say, a coach, mentor, guide for confused adults to gain clarity in their life, I listen to them. I just listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to them. I say, so why have you invested in me, or why do you want to potentially invest in coaching? I listen to their words because we are all living a life with a story in our mind. We have an unconscious story in here, whether we believe it or not. We're all telling ourselves a story for why we can do or why we can't do certain things, why we can't have that, why we shouldn't do that. It all comes from childhood and the people around us. And look, I listen to people and I listen very closely to their language because quite often we're speaking this story to ourselves out loud, even to others of,
Yep.
oh yeah, I'm not good at this, or I'm so stupid. We're just confirming for why we can't have these things. So straight away, I listen to a conversation with someone, I pick up on their language and I write down exactly what I'm hearing. Because look, you cannot read the label from inside the jar. People are stuck living lives inside this jar, and they're just telling themselves this BS story of why they can't do and have anything they dream and desire. I listen for them. I'm from an outsider looking from back at them, and I see on their jar like all the things, the limiting beliefs that they have, and I just literally relay it back to them. I say, "This is what I heard you say." He said, "I
Mm-hmm.
didn't say that." No, you did, because I just wrote it down. And when people have that awareness again, they go, "Oh my God, I'd never believed this." So then we first start with changing the story that they're saying to themselves. Then we start getting clear on exactly what it is that they truly want, not what society wants, friends, family, what they truly want in their life. And then it's just a case of, say, building that self confidence to actually begin gaining the results to actually move forward in a productive way. And look, yeah, there's a whole process that I have, and there's just some of the first action steps. It's all
Yeah.
about the foundations, because you cannot say build a skyscraper on the sand on the beach. You need to have the rock solid self confidence and foundations for your life first, and then you can begin to build the life of your dreams on top. So yeah, we always start with the awareness, because again, you can't change or improve what you don't know needs changing or improving.
Do you believe that we can become fearless, essentially?
No, no, because so many people are going out in their life to become fearless. You hear people like, "Oh, I'm a fearless leader coach," and all this. Like, you're not. You're a bullshitter, mate. Like, you're not. You're not at all. Like,
Yeah.
people feel fear. Like, you look at Jeff Bezos, you look at Elon Musk, you look at
Yeah.
anyone successful, Gary V, whoever you want. You look at these people that we look up to and admire. We think they are so fearless. No, they're not. They're fearless. They're like me and you. They still feel fear, but they don't let the fear hold them back from achieving what it is that they set out to do in the first place. So they feel the fear and they do it anyway.
Mm. And that's the key right there. It's not fearlessness, it's feeling the fear and then lessening its advance on you.
Yeah, so I'm going to give your listeners a tip now for fear. So when you feel the fear, don't try and come back. Like, we've all heard the quotes, uh, fear stands for two meanings. You
Fear
remind me, I
everything
can't
and
remember.
run, face
Yeah,
everything and
face
run
everything and
or
rise. Thank you. So I
yeah.
made my own ones. I made my own two. I believe fear stands for freeze, evaluate, and reverse, or
Mm.
focus, evolve, and relax. Because quite often we see fear and we freeze. We go, we evaluate, we overthink, and reverse. We go, no, go back to the safety of our comfort zone. No, we don't want that. Or you can focus, evolve, and relax. Focus. What do I truly want? Evolve. This is a time for growth. This is when I need to become the next best version of myself. And relax. Chill. It's going to be okay. Stop making stories up within your own mind and just relax and just move forward in a productive, positive way. Because waiting for you on that barrier that is in front of you, that invisible barrier, is the very next best version of yourself waiting for you on the other side. So, with the fear, like, fear is not real. It's just that picture that we made up in our own mind, which is usually worst case scenario. So, don't ever say, go back from fear. Don't avoid fear. Lean in, but learn to dance with fear. Dance with fear. Just imagine, like, fear is a person. You're dancing. You have it like this up against you, and you're dancing with fear. It's next to you. It's close to you. Just as long as you keep moving, that fear can never ever overcome and consume you, because you're just moving. You just dance with the fear. You just dance and move. As long as you're moving, the fear can never overcome you. Yeah, it's going to be close by your side. Yeah, it's going to be scary at some points. You just know you keep moving. It's never going to overcome you, and it's never going to stop you or hold you back.
Hmm. All right, Will. we'll talk a little bit about the brain injury stuff, just because this is close to my heart, and then we'll talk about how people can reach out to you, and then
Yes.
so the next question, just a little bit about TBI, is did they do actual brain scan of what occurred?
Yeah, so they had brain scans. So what it was, there was a blood clot due to the say impact. I had a huge, I can't remember the name. They tell me the name of what this is called, like a hyper. I can't remember the name of it, like the
Yeah,
blood,
yeah.
but it was like huge. And what had happened, it pushed my brain over to one side, and it's starting to go down my spine. And they said to my parents, like, because of the blood clot is literally so big,
Yeah.
the damage caused to Ryan's brain, like he would never wake up from this. And like they were showing the scans to my parents and saying like this damage, his memory, like he is not going to remember anybody's name. He won't remember his name. He'll be in a vegetative state for the rest of his life. My parents like, you don't know Ryan. You don't know Ryan. And yeah, with that being said, they obviously done the operation. They removed the blood clot. I had a fractured skull as well. Um, and yeah, I come back from it, and they told my parents that day that I wouldn't wake up. Maybe a week or so, they reduced the sedation. So I was in a coma for 1 week, reduced sedation for 2 times. Obviously, the first time didn't work, second time did. Another week for me to actually fully sort of wake up from the coma. And then, yeah, I was in hospital for another 2 weeks to the point where I had to learn to walk, talk again. And then I walked out of that hospital, yeah, on crutches, but almost like nothing had ever happened to me.
Those new, so anybody that's facing a diagnosis by the doctor, realize, excuse my language, but it's fucking bullshit, because what
Mm.
you said in your mind is we set our own prisons, right? And so
Yes.
with he's living fucking proof of it. Excuse my language once again. But my story, his story, and then I just see more and more people like you that are like the 4 minute mile in a way. It's like what is actually possible when we put our mind to it. So thank you for breaking through a lot of limiting beliefs in myself as well. So anyway,
Yeah, I'd like to say this if it's okay about
yeah, go
regarding
right
that. Like
ahead.
anyone listening, never let your diagnosis be your prognosis. Like so many people give up on themselves because somebody else has told them that they can have this, they can do this, they shouldn't do this, they can't do that. I never ever let someone else who's either too scared to go after or who gave up on their dreams talk you out of pursuing and achieving yours. Never let someone else decide, design, determine, or dictate your destiny because this is your life and it's down to you to discover and create the life of your dreams and to become anything and everything that you can become. Yeah, we're talking about brain injuries. Just because the doctors said, oh, that let's say, oh, you got 6 months left to live, for instance. They told this to my granddad many years ago. He had
Mm-hmm.
like a cancer or something. They said, yeah, he's not got long to live. He lived for years and years and years after this. Just because the doctors said it, it doesn't mean that it's going to be true. So never let that limiting belief contaminate your mindset because whatever you think in here, you will believe, and your actions will then align with the story that you're telling yourself. So the moment that you say the words "I am" are two of the most powerful words that you could ever say. So anytime that you say I am, I can, I can't, whatever, have something positive after that. I am successful. I can do this. I am going to come back from this. I am going to become healthier. Because when you keep repeating this in your mind, your actions are going to align with that. And trust me, look, positive thinking alone doesn't say just solve all of your problems, but trust me, it fucking helps. So think positive, talk to yourself in a positive way, and don't let other people tell you what you can and can't achieve. Like no doctor can determine your dreaded day of demise. Like no doctor can tell you your exact day of death. Like yeah, doctors are amazing; they saved my life. But doctors told my parents he will never walk or talk again. He will never come back from this. And they were wrong. Like people get it wrong. We're only humans at the end of the day. And
Yep.
doctors have learned from a book. We're all
Mm-hmm.
individual humans. There's over 8 billion people on this earth, and we're all unique. No one is the same.
No.
So don't let no doctor tell you what you can and can't achieve in your life. Just because they've said it, it doesn't mean that it's true. Anything is possible. Like the world is incredible, and we as humans, wow, we are incredible machines and human beings. So we can do things that some people can't believe is possible. You just said the 4 minute mile, Roger Bannister, like his story just goes to prove that as soon as you believe it in here, as soon as you do it, other people are inspired, empowered, they can do it too. So don't ever give up on yourself just because someone said that you can or can't do something. Never give up on yourself. As long as your beautiful heart is still beating, you're still in the game, and you can decide how your movie ends, my friend.
Boom. And that's why we call it the Rebound Your Brain podcast, because I fuck man, like that was probably that's the best comeback story, if I'm being quite honest, that I've ever heard or have ever had the privilege to speak to a person and talk about their comeback story. So thank you sincerely from my heart. Where can people reach out to you so they can get shit going in the right direction?
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you so much. So, look, it's a pleasure to be here today and to speak. And thank you, everybody who has listened or who will listen to this as well. The best place to get me really is on my Instagram at Ryan Nurse. I'm across all social medias. If you just type in Ryan Nurse or at Ryan Nurse underscore, which is my Instagram, at Ryan Nurse underscore, you'll find me there. If you wanted to get a copy of my book that I've just released last year, which is titled Sort Your Shit Out, you can go onto your version of Amazon, type in Sort Your Shit Out Ryan Nurse, get yourself a copy. You can head over to sortyourshitout.ryannurse.com. You can also head over to my website, which is just ryannurse.com. Or if you really want, I'm writing another book at the moment called Dying with Regrets. And this is more about my life, all of the things that have happened to get me to where I am today. So if you do want to get yourself a copy of that, keep your eyes peeled. Send me a message over on Instagram to let me know. And yeah, I'll stick you on a waiting list as well.
100%. Thank you for cutting through the noise and all the BS that we have in our minds. And we'll be looking forward to releasing this one. Everyone, take care.
Thank you so much.
All right.